Yeah, I just got to get these lights on.
Hey, can I read my application to you, or you want to come out and look at it and tell me how to do it?
Say what? Is this? Yeah. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Yeah, but I need to see the board. Oh. Oh, okay. I got it. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about leadership in uncertain times. We're going to be recording this session, so if you want to rewatch it or you want to share it with someone, you're welcome to do so. Glad to see all of you with us today. So let's start by just imagining yourself driving down the foggy road that you see on the screen. We've all had that experience of driving in adversity, and if you adjust your speed and you have the right equipment, you're able to navigate the road. And I think that's where we're at today in these uncertain times. We are at a place where, with the right mindset and with the right direction, we will be able to navigate to a healthy future. So Jason, if you could move that screen from the front there. I want to give you the upfront contract for what we're going to talk about. I'm going to start off by giving you a big picture overview of some numbers, because numbers don't lie. As managers and leaders, you know that understanding and managing by the numbers is a key part of success. So we're going to look at the trend lines that we see today and what that means to us in our planning. Then we're going to focus on 10 action items that can help you stay comfortable and successful during this tough time. Focusing on what you can control, managing your emotions, understanding the stages of transition and how to coach your people through the transition, how people react under pressure. We're going to talk about planning, preparing, and being decisive, communicating openly, encouraging your team, working on important priorities, supporting and serving, and gratitude. These 10 keys will be how through recession you can grow. So let's put this in a larger perspective. So the graph I've got on the board starts at 1967 and it goes through 2017. And what you notice as you look at recession over the course of time, that there is recovery after recession. I think it's really important to bear that in mind, because oftentimes when we get inundated with 24/7 news, it can become overwhelming and it can lead to despair. So recessions are a blip in time, and they are a reality in our current situation. So think of the 3 possible scenarios that could evolve from this COVID-19 virus. There could be, and I want you to plan for each of these 3 potentials. A great leader will look at the numbers and prepare accordingly. So there could be a quick recovery, there could be global slowdown, or there could be a global pandemic and recession. At this point, we don't know, but the companies that have prepared for each eventuality will be the ones that, rather than being caught off guard, they will be able to weather the storm, and I would be so bold as to say grow throughout it. So typically in business cycles, you've been through them, no doubt. There is a peak and a trough and a peak and a trough. It happens in your personal business if you have seasonality. Some of us have seasonal businesses. So we're used to that peak and trough during the seasonality associated with our business. This is going to be more of a cycle that creates emotional impacts, because it's not just seasonal and something that we prepared for, it is ubiquitous. So what are I like this graph, and by the way, these slides will all be made available for you. If you would like the slides or the video of this, just email me, jim.stevens@sandler.com. Be happy to send it to you. But this goes through the series of events that happen during an economic cycle. In an overbought market where there's excessive optimism, when it starts to turn the curve, credit and cash dries up, bulging inventories, production slows, prices slip, a little bit of worry, buying dries up, people lose confidence, then it hits the trough. Layoffs begin, more worry, savings build, put off buying, excessive fear, panic, and at some point it hits that bottom. The thing about the current economic times we're in, this is happening in the blink of an eye as opposed to over time. What typically happens in a recession are these emotions and the corresponding actions that are listed here aren't seen immediately. They are something that creep up on you, and you don't often know that you're in a recession until you get to some of these worries and excessive fear. So forewarned is forearmed. So you can count on this happening, and everybody you know, all of your employees are at some level in their fear regarding the negative news. As we start to see a recovery, what will happen is some more buying will occur, some hiring, more confidence, more hiring, more buying, higher prices, fear of higher prices, real demand, really positive news, a scramble to produce, and then a scramble to buy. That is economic cycles 101. I think you would do yourselves and your team a great service if you coach them through the cycles. Next week, same time, I'm going to be offering a section for sales. In that session, I'm going to be talking about what should your talk track be to help maintain, you know, they talk about flattening the curve of the virus. I want us to flatten the curve of the trough in a recession. So how do I do that? Well, I need to be proactive in helping my clients understand the talk track that's likely to help them sustain over the course of time. So in the big scheme of things, business cycles are not a flat trajectory. They are an ever-increasing expansion. So that's important to keep in mind because your belief will determine your actions. And if you believe the world is coming to an end, your messaging to your clients is going to telegraph to them a sense of despair. Your messaging to your employees will telegraph a sense of despair. What I want you to do is look at the numbers and see that our output is moving in a healthy direction in spite of this momentary setback. I love this quote from Buckley Barrow. The key to a strong recession business strategy is to monitor the economic climate and pivot at just the right time without losing momentum. Most small businesses will wait too long to pivot, and they will be subject to the influence of the negativity in the economy far more so than if they took action quickly. So what kind of action should we take? Well, number one, recognize that if you look at the numbers, this recession has been expected and forecast. So is the ensuing recovery. How is it forecast? Well, by using, in fact, let me jump ahead to this rate over change. So this is a really powerful management tool. If you aren't currently using it, I would recommend download this slide, throw some of your leading indicators. So, or it could be a lagging indicator. Let's say, let's say you take the lagging indicator of leads received, or maybe it's social media impressions, or maybe it's a leading indicator of clients that you reach out to. What a 3-month rate of change factor allows is conceptually, you take the last 3 months, you come up with the average number of the percent of change, and if you look at the trend line of that over time and put it next to the 12-month rate of change, what you'll start to see is that 3-month rate of change predicts what will happen in the future. If you will take time to understand this tool and use this tool to forecast your finances, you will be able to see what's happening before it happens. Let me give you an example. This is the leading indicator using the rate of change on the industrial average data. So the green line indicates that leading indicator trend. The blue line indicates the actual 12-month. So you can see in May of 2010, by looking at that 3-month rolling average, it predicted by May in 2011, there would be a peak. It also predicts the valleys. So if you look at the indicator as a 12-month lead time in industrial data, you can see that this is a great tool to help you anticipate what your numbers could be telling you that you may not be paying attention to. So why do I bring that up? Because I want you to be thinking a half a business cycle ahead. This is the time for you to put on your strategic planning hat and don't think about what's immediately in front of you. Let's think about a half a business cycle ahead. So your business cycle may vary depending on the industry that you're in, but a safe play would be to be looking on a quarterly basis. So what would we anticipate next quarter, the following quarter, the following quarter, and what do our numbers tell us is happening? Once we see the trend line, we can now understand the actions that we need to take to avoid being a victim of the recession and to, in fact, leverage success in the recession. So here's your homework. Jot this down. I want you to discuss with your team, your board of directors, board of advisors, whoever it is that you depend on to frame your strategy. What is your plan to ride out the storm? And listen, a written plan is vital. I don't want you just wishful thinking. I don't want you just BSing about it. I want a written plan. What actions will we take if it is a quick recovery? What actions will we take if it's a global slowdown? And what actions will we take if it's a global pandemic? Let's think about these in the context of one of the highest costs that most companies face is labor. So if it's a quick recovery, your plan will be to lay off a few people, and as opposed to if there's a global slowdown, there may be a second wave. If there is a global pandemic, there may be a third wave of layoffs. So thinking in terms of business growth and cost management, I think is really crucial. So let's jump into our 10 steps that we can take to make sure we have the right actions in place. This is a quote from Chuck Swindoll. I'll read it to you. The longer I live, the more I realize the importance, the impact attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than success, than what other people think or say or do. Attitude is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is plan on one thing we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. That would be a great quote to print out, post on your bulletin board, stick it in the checks to your employees that week, and remind everyone that the one string we can play on is the string of our attitude. Life is 10% what happens and 90% our attitude towards it. I heard a podcast the other day. They were interviewing Warren Buffett, and the interviewer said, "Mr. Buffett, with all the money you have tied up in the market, this must be a really troubling time for you." And his response, calm as a cucumber, was, "No, actually it's not, because we see every recession as a great opportunity." You know that much of the old world wealth in the United States was generated during recessions. A recession is your opportunity to generate wealth, and you will do so if you have the right attitude and you take the right actions. So how do I focus on what I control? Well, I need to understand the fundamentals of the belief wheel. So my beliefs determine my judgment. My judgment determines my actions determine my results, and my results confirm my beliefs. In a time like this, I want you to think about how can you leverage this cycle.
Yep.
How can you leverage this cycle to your benefit? So let's jump down to this point of action. So let's pretend we have somebody who is reacting with great fear and trepidation because of COVID-19 and the unknown about the future. It would be a normal human emotional response to feel that way. Those actions will create results, and the results are going to be panic, emotional confusion, the cloud of war, feelings of despair. What does that despair do? It reinforces my belief that the world's coming to an end. That then frames my judgment about what condition I'm in, and now I move into woe is me, curl up in a little ball, hide and die. You know, that's not a healthy way to approach adversity. So how do I change that? Well, I need to take the action to script the beliefs, and this is why it's so important for you as leaders to take action here. Script the belief by giving your team the talk tracks necessary for thriving during a recession. In fact, shoot me an email. I'll send you my list of talk tracks for thriving through a recession, jim.stevens@sandler.com. Those talk tracks, if you coach your people on what they should say, does your company have a unified message around this? Have you mutually agreed to the language that you share with your vendors, your suppliers, your clients, your banker, your attorney? Is there a common talk track action that you are using to broadcast to the world your perspective towards this economic challenge? If you have that talk track down and you use that talk track, that action will result in you starting to believe what you say, and your beliefs about what you say will frame your judgment. So instead of being in a reactionary, panicking mode, you're going to be in a controlling mode, and you will have the influence over your team of rallying them and inspiring them. By the way, your people need you now. If they aren't hearing from you, it's a mistake. They need to hear from you every day. They need to hear the message of your positive beliefs, the judgments you are making, the actions you're taking, and the results you're getting. Here's why. Jot this down. In the absence of facts, people make up their own story. In the absence of facts, people make up their own story, and that story becomes their reality. If you're sitting back assuming people know that you've got everything under control, you won't know the gravity of that error until it's too late to correct the action that came from your inaction. Remember this, jot this down. Not deciding is a decision. So if you haven't, as a leader, scripted your message and daily proclaim it to your team is driving in a fog and they don't know where they're going. They need the leader to be the fog lights and the driver to help them navigate the turbulent times. Number two, to that end, we got to manage our emotions. Managing your emotions is about managing your internal state. Best tool that you have at your disposal is journaling. Journaling is just the act of writing down your thoughts. Simple way to journal, start by jotting down 10 things you're grateful for. Jot down 10 things you want to attract into your life. Jot down 3 priorities for your day. And then jot down the mindset required to achieve the objectives that you have before you for that day. If you will do those things, it will have the impact of taking fear, worry, and doubt away and let you be calm, collected, and avoid the panic that's natural if you watch and believe too much of the 24/7 media. Number 3, stages of transition. I want you to put your coach hat on for a minute. Your people need, and when I say your people, I mean your team, I mean your clients, vendors, the people that you interact with, they need a coach. They need someone to help them through their own fears. And you know that givers receive. So if you will make it a priority for you to give during this time, you can help people adapt to the circumstances. So there's the 5 stages of transition: shock, denial, resistance, exploration, and then finally commitment. So those 5 steps are in fact, jot down where you think you are. Are you still in denial? You know, I heard a podcast today that said some version of, in all likelihood, there will be a recession. You know, my thought there is, I'm at the level of commitment. I don't think there will be. I think there is. And I think the reality of that recession is going to impact you based on your actions. So if you take the action of doing nothing, you have a commitment to just wait and see, you're going to be behind the curve when the trough of the recession ends and we start to climb out the other end. So think about, where are you in the stage of transition and what do you need to do to get to commitment? So let's talk about what commitment looks like. It doesn't look like wishful thinking. It doesn't look like hope and prayer, but hope and prayer are useful. It looks like having a written plan. So make sure you've taken time to establish your plan and then help your people see the plan. You know, there's a passage in the Bible that says, for a lack of vision, the people perish. And if the leadership in your organization isn't standing up and with commitment proclaiming the plan, then the whole team is going to just feel a little bit lost. So take this opportunity to coach your people through the stages of transition. I was going to do a quick breakout, but I think with our time restraint, let's make this a homework step. So jot down and chat in the chat feature of the WebEx how your team is adapting to change and what is a leadership best practice that you have found effective during these times. So if you look on the Zoom meeting, I think the top right-hand corner, it'll give you a chat feature. Just chat in there, or it might be on the bottom ribbon in that chat feature. Chat out your best practice. We will we'll take the chat, we'll copy those, and we'll paste those in the email that we send out. So I want to hear, what are some of your best practices? What's working for you during these times? I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. Are we getting some? Fifteen seconds. All right, thank you very much. Keep those chats coming, appreciate that. Number 4. All of us act and respond differently under pressure. Yeah, there are some who are a little bit like a turtle. Under pressure, what's a turtle do? It withdraws into its shell, protective, defensive posture. What's an eagle do? An eagle soars above the problems. What's a turkey do? Well, turkeys are known to be some of the least intelligent species on the planet. So are you a turtle, turkey, or eagle? You got to figure out yourself and realize that it's not who you are, it's the choice you make. So adjusting your approach is vital at this time. So let's take leadership, for example. You've joined today's session because you fill the role of a leader. Your behavior style may not be that dominant, front and center, take charge type person. You may be more introverted and more of a helper than an overt leader. Now is the time to adjust your style. Act as if you have the power to influence others, because, gang, you do have that power. The magic is in the one-on-ones. So have you taken time to meet with each of your people and understand how they're going, how they're doing, what are they going through? How are they handling the stress in their lives? Most of us don't have anybody that we can talk to. So take one of your KPIs as a leader should be spending time on the phone with a one-on-one, and make sure over the course of the next 2 days, you spend at least 5 minutes with each of your employees. They need to hear from you. They need to hear that you have faith in them, that you have faith in the company, that you have faith in the economy, and that you have faith in the future. That faith and inspiration is contagious. Understand how people react under pressure and help them acquire the status of an eagle that's able to soar over the troubles and see the big picture. Because as I showed you in the graphs, the big picture is this is a snapshot in time. This too will pass, and you'll look back a year from now And you'll see that if you took actions to create a positive outcome, you will be reaping the reward of those actions. Number 5, plan, prepare, be decisive. It's really important to recognize that now is not the time to wait and see. Now is the time to formulate a plan and activate your people. There are things everyone in your company can do to help make sure that as you come out of the trough, there is great momentum for you moving forward. Your customers want to hear from you, not just you, but from the people in your company who they connect with. And be creative about messaging, about sending, posting, about sharing with your people, your constituents, what you're planning on, what you're preparing for, and let them see that you are taking action. Bonus points if you do some kind of a daily huddle with your team. And in that daily huddle, you're telling them, this is the 3 things I want all of us to focus on today are boom, boom, boom. Plan, prepare, be decisive. Number 6, communicate openly. Be genuine and authentic. Don't overcommit. I'm not asking you to put on rose-colored glasses. I'm asking you to look at the facts, numbers don't lie, and realize that these trends are predictable and the recovery is predictable. So consistently reaching out to others with empathy and nurturing tonality, with the good news of the future to come and the candor of the reality that comes from embracing them with empathy. Number 7, encourage your team. Encourage your team. Work together. Develop a creative approach. Don't work in a vacuum. You know, as a leader, you pull your team together and get everybody's brain thinking. You'll come up with actions that you had never thought of. And this is a great time for you to be innovating the future that you want your company to have. Number 8, work on important priorities. This is the Stephen Covey 4 quadrants. Right now is a great time to work on the quadrant of important but not urgent. What is that quadrant? That's preparation and planning, values clarification, empowerment, relationship building, true recreation, coaching and mentoring. If you are, like most of us, in a position where you're sheltering in place, this is actions that you can put into that will reap a long-term reward. The urgent and important actions, these are the things that are the quadrant of necessity, dealing with crisis, deadline-driven, medical emergencies, true emergencies, mediation, and last-minute preparation. Those are the things that are requiring a lot of your time. Be sure you're balancing the important, the urgent, and the important, and the not urgent. Avoid at all costs the level of not important and urgent and not important and not urgent, because those things are time sucks and they're going to rob you of the ability to capture the future. Number 9, support and serve. In times of trouble, Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And hey, listen, don't hesitate to ask for help. It never hurts. I called our landlord and I said, you know, we're not sure what the future holds. We would like to understand what our options are. Is there anything you all could do to help? I just asked that simple question. And in response, what they said, let's look into it. They came back to us and said yesterday, we will waive your lease payments for the next 3 months. Ask for help. It never hurts. I had no intention of getting that abundant response, but by asking, I opened the door for opportunity. So one of the things you need to be looking at is your expenses. And you need to be making provision to manage those expenses in a healthy way. Number 10, gratitude. Be thankful for what we have, not focused on what we don't have. Be intentional and take a moment every day to be grateful for all that we have. I want to allow time for feedback and any questions that anybody has. But before I go there, a little snapshot of what we're going to talk about next week when we talk about the sales. In Sandler, we use the CARE acronym as a model to manage our client base. And what I like you to do here is think in terms of what clients do I want to keep, what clients do I want to attain, what clients do I want to recapture, and what client relationships do I want to expand. So your homework is go through your client list, your prospect list, and come up with specific people, companies, or individuals in each of these categories. And come up with a plan of action that you will take in order to keep, attain, recapture, and expand your client base. Next week when we get together, I'm going to give you some talk tracks and specific actions under each one of these areas. In the meantime, people want to hear from you. And if you just reach out and say, very simply, say to them, hey, been thinking about you and wondering, how are you all doing? Just hearing from you is going to make them feel better about you. People won't, you might jot this down, people won't remember what you do for them as much as they will remember how you make them feel. By reaching out and just saying, how you doing? That it tells them that they are important to you and that they are top of mind. Bonus round, these are fundamentals that are kind of a no-duh for this audience. I'm sure you've taken these actions, but just in case you haven't, here's a quick checklist of 7 ways you can thrive in this tough economic time. Protect cash flow, review inventory management practices, focus on your core competencies, develop and implement strategies to win the competition's customers. I want to spend just a minute on that one. If you think about the impact that economic cycles have, there is a certain percentage of your competitors that will go away because of poor planning or whatever circumstances result in their inability to thrive in tough economic times. That opens up opportunities for you to hire better people. It opens up opportunities for you to gain their clients. So I want you to keep your ear to the ground regarding what the competition is doing and be prepared to win the competition's customers and or employees, key employees, if they end up not making it. Number 5, make the most of current customers and clients. Keep that relationship tight. Think about this. 100% of your clients are on your competitors' prospecting list. If your competitors are smart, they're thinking about number 4, and they're thinking about number 5, and they're thinking about how can they capture market share, because in a tight economy, the only way you can grow is by expanding market share, and the only way you expand market share is by taking it from a competitor. To that point, number 6, don't cut back on marketing. Now is not the time to cut marketing expenses. Now is the time to let the world know that you're still there and you're still open for business, assuming that you are. And number 7, keep your personal credit in good shape. By the way, there are some opportunities through the Small Business Administration for loans. You should be taking action to have cash available in any form, whether you need it or not. In an ideal world, you borrow the money and don't need it and pay it back. There is no prepayment penalties for the loans that are being made available now. But get money so you've got it in case you need it. And last, call us. If you want help with anything, our phone number is 208-429-9275, 208-429-9275. Joan, Jason, and I are all available to help in any way we can. If you'd like just a conversation, 208-429-9275. I want to wrap up with this slide. This is in the PGA money list through October 31st of 2012. Of 257 golfers, the top 86 earned on average $2.3 million. The bottom 85 earned on average just under $100,000. The point difference was less than 1 stroke. So think about that. Think about the slight edge advantage of 1 stroke. Even half a stroke made the difference of $650,000. So what does that say to you about you? You don't need to be drastically better than your competition. You just need to have a slight edge. Your employees don't have to be day and night better. They just need to be working a slight edge. What creates a slight edge? You look at the difference between the $2.3 million earners and the $100,000 earners. Is it natural giftedness or is it devotion? Is it natural talent or is it being diligent to coach, to training, to preparation? It's those things that are going to help you have a slight edge. And we at Sandler, we are arrogant enough to believe that we can help you by being a slight edge to get you where you want to go. We're in this together. Our team at Sandler is here to help. Contact us for anything. We've got a few minutes remaining. Open microphones. Anybody have a best practice they'd like to share, a comment, or a question? Hey, Joan, you want to make sure that it's unmuted? Just unmute yourself and you'll be able to jump right in.
So, Jim, what do you do as an outside observer watching no reaction?
Can you ask that one more time?
What do you do as an outside observer watching an operation and there's absolutely no change being made and the window of opportunity, the seasonality of the operation basically only runs about 120 days?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in many cases you may not be in an influential position within an organization, and yet you're seeing the organization fail to take advantage of an opportunity. Well, there's a couple of things I would recommend. Number one, people don't listen if you tell them what to do. So if I say, Ben, you need to do A, B, and C, that command almost hooks Ben into not doing it. what is a more effective way to communicate is a third-party story. So the way I would recommend that you use a third-party story in our sales program, we train that third-party stories are a very effective way to help people see from a different perspective. And when I'm telling a third-party story, it's often a story about the person I'm talking to. So if I were talking to somebody and I thought they should take action, I might say this. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they realized if they would do A and B, C would result. And I challenged them because I didn't really think that that's true. So they kind of convinced me that it would. I'm curious, what do you think? If they did A and B, would C happen? So see what happens by that third-party story. I get them outside of their world listening objectively, and by asking their opinion, I engage them in a non-threatening inquiry about what their opinion is regarding the action. So use third-party story. The second thing that I would recommend is people respond if they think it's their idea. So one of the ways that you can position it would be perhaps even in writing, in an email or a text. Hey, I'm remembering a while ago we were talking about ABC. I think you said XYZ. Did I hear you correctly? So now what you're doing there is you're positioning the observation you have as though you have had it in a previous conversation. That can be an effective way to capture their attention. Here's what you want to do to influence others. What I want to do is I want to tap into curiosity, and then I want to tap into innovation. I want to get them curious, and I want to get them thinking. Thank you for the question. Anybody else? Other questions or comments? We good? Anybody else? If somebody's talking, your microphone's not on.
Jim, this is Aaron. I just wanted to thank you for putting this on today. Appreciate all you're doing to help out.
Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate you being here today. And as I mentioned, reach out to us. We're happy to meet with you just to have a chat and hear how things are going. If you need somebody to bounce ideas off of, we're here for you. So thanks for coming, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Anybody else? All right. Hey, if you measure it, you'll manage it. Go out there and become an ambassador of hope. That's what the world needs right now. We need hope, and you can be the ambassador that carries that into the people you touch. Do something today that's going to inspire others to a hopeful tomorrow. Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you. Join us next Thursday, same time. We're going to be focusing more on sales. Talk to you then. Reach out if you need anything. We're here to visit.